I had always believed that James and I had something special. He was charming, handsome, and attentive when we first met. We shared so many dreams for the future, and I thought we were a team. I had been supporting myself for years, paying all the bills, working long hours, and managing everything on my own. I thought that when we got married, James would step in and share the load. But that never happened. I had no idea that I was walking into a trap. It wasn't just the financial burden that weighed on me. It was the emotional neglect, the constant pressure, and the feeling that I was invisible in my own home. At first, I didn't notice how much James's family had started to take advantage of me. They moved in without warning, and suddenly, I found myself taking care of everything. They didn't help with the chores, didn't pay for anything, and expected me to keep everything running smoothly while they lived in my house, using my resources. I didn't want to cause any problems, so I kept quiet, enduring it all. I thought maybe James would realize what was happening and do something about it. But he didn't. He was too busy with his own things to notice or care. Every day, I woke up early to take care of the house, cook meals, and pay the bills, all while working from home. It was exhausting. And when I asked James to help, he'd just brush me off, telling me to relax and let his family handle things. I was supposed to feel grateful that they were there, but instead, I felt like a servant in my own home. It was draining, and it wasn't just the workload that got to me. It was the constant feeling of being unappreciated, of being invisible in my own life. James never saw how much I was doing. His family certainly didn't. But I was determined to stay silent, thinking that if I endured long enough, things would change. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't. Things took a darker turn when I started to realize how much of my money they were spending. James and his family were buying whatever they wanted, running up the bills without a second thought. I was the one paying for everything, utilities, groceries, even their entertainment. I was carrying the weight of the household on my shoulders while they lived carefree. The tipping point came when James's sister moved in with her 5 kids. I was stretched too thin. There was no way I could handle everything anymore. The burden was crushing, and yet James seemed oblivious to it all. I kept reminding myself that it would all be worth it when things finally turned around. But 5 months later, I realized that I couldn't go on like this any longer. The tension had reached its breaking point. I decided it was time to confront James, to make him see how bad things had gotten. I wasn't asking for much. I just wanted some help, some acknowledgement. I was tired of being the one who always gave and never received. One evening, as James sat on the couch, casually flipping through the TV channels, I took a deep breath. "James, we need to talk," I said, my voice shaking with frustration. He turned to look at me, his usual indifference on his face. I felt my heart race as I spoke. "I can't keep doing this anymore. I'm paying for everything. I'm doing all the work around here, and your family isn't lifting a finger. Either they leave, or I do." His eyes widened in surprise. For the first time in a long while, he seemed to actually listen to me. "What are you talking about?" he asked, his tone dismissive, but there was a hint of concern underneath. "I've been doing everything, James. I'm the one paying for this house, for the groceries, for everything. Your family is treating me like I don't belong here, and you've done nothing to stop it." "I'm done," I said, holding back tears. I had never felt so alone. James just stared at me, not understanding the gravity of what I was saying. He sighed, standing up from the couch. "Well, if you can't live with my family, then maybe it's you who should leave," he said coldly. His words stung, but they were a wake-up call. The man I had once loved was now a stranger to me. I could feel my blood boil as I confronted him. "So, you're going to kick me out? You're really going to let your family destroy our marriage?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. He seemed unfazed. "You've never really been part of this family," he said, his words cutting deeper than I expected. "You don't have a place here." It felt like everything I had worked for, everything I had built with him, was suddenly meaningless. "You don't get it, do you?" I said, my voice trembling with anger. "I'm done. This marriage is over." I stormed out of the room, my heart pounding in my chest. This was it. I was leaving. I couldn't live like this anymore. I didn't care about the consequences. I just needed to get out. I grabbed my things, packed my bags, and left the apartment, not even bothering to look back. I went straight to my grandparents' house, feeling both relieved and heartbroken. They were shocked when they saw me. They had no idea what I had been going through. I told them everything. The long story of how I had been treated, how James had allowed his family to invade our home, how I had paid for everything while they took advantage of me. My grandparents were furious. They scolded me for not coming to them sooner, for not asking for help earlier. But all I could do was apologize. I felt weak and ashamed, but I knew I couldn't go back. That night, as I sat in my grandparents' living room, the weight of what had just happened started to sink in. I had left. I had made the decision to take control of my life, to stop being the doormat in a relationship that never truly valued me. But I knew this was just the beginning. I had no idea what would come next. All I knew was that I couldn't go back to that life. I had to move forward, even if I was scared. The next morning, my phone buzzed. It was a message from James. He wanted to talk. "What's going on?" he asked, his tone accusatory. "I'm not leaving the apartment. We need to sort this out." I didn't respond right away. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to say. Then I remembered something. Before I left, I had canceled the credit cards James had been using. I wasn't going to let him keep spending my money. When I finally replied, I was firm. "Don't contact me. I've already arranged for the divorce. You'll hear from my lawyer." His reply came quickly. "You can't just take everything. The apartment is mine too. You're not entitled to it." I laughed bitterly. "No, James, it's mine. I'm the one who's been paying for it. I'm taking it with me and you'll get nothing, not a single cent." The next few days were filled with back and forth calls, each one growing more desperate and hostile. James's attempts to get me to back down were pointless. He was so sure that I would cave in, that I would go back to him, but I wasn't going to let him control me anymore. I had been too silent for too long. Now it was time to speak up, to stand up for myself. Finally, after days of him begging for reconciliation, the divorce papers arrived. I felt a strange sense of relief when I saw them. The end was official. No more pretending, no more games. James could whine and complain all he wanted, but I was done. I had endured his family's presence in my life for far too long. They had used me, abused me, and left me with nothing but heartbreak. A month later, James and his family finally moved out of the apartment. It wasn't a change of heart that drove them out. It was the fact that they had no money left. James had been living beyond his means, spending money I had earned. He couldn't keep up the lifestyle without me footing the bill. I had been playing the long game, knowing that his family would eventually collapse under the weight of their own extravagance. By the time they left, the apartment was a shell of what it once was. The utilities were shut off, and they had no way to pay for them. James tried to get everything restored, but it was in my name, and I wasn't going to make it easy for him. Eventually, his family left, and I was finally free. But even as I celebrated my freedom, I couldn't forget the years of manipulation and abuse. Then came the final blow. I found out that James had been seeing someone else while we were still married. He had thought he could kick me out and move on without any consequences. But he had underestimated me. I had already gathered evidence of his infidelity, and I was ready to make him pay. I demanded a significant alimony, not out of spite, but because he had betrayed me in ways I couldn't even begin to describe. When James saw the amount I was asking for, his face turned pale. He begged me to reconsider.